Right, hello and welcome back to another episode of Cars and Engineering. In this episode I'm going to be removing the inlet camshaft and the exhaust camshaft. Stay tuned. Right, so as I said in the intro, I shall be removing the inlet cam today and the exhaust cam, as well as the actual variable valve timing chain. You'll also notice, as compared to the last episode, it's a lot cleaner. I said at the end of the last episode I will be taking it for cleaning off-site, and you can see it is pretty much spotless at the moment, which is good because oil hasn't stained the actual aluminium. If you have old oil, it tends to stain aluminium like a really horrible, like a browny sort of like rusty colour. It's obviously dirty oil. But you can tell this has been probably changed quite regularly because it's come out really nice. It wasn't cleaned in the best of ways. It was put through like a mechanical washment unit, but it's still good. The only problem is there's a little bit of rust here on the actual camshafts themselves, but I'm going to Scotch-Brite that out. Once they're out, I will inspect them a little bit more thoroughly and give them a little buff up with some Scotch-Brite. Nothing too crazy. And then spray them with some WD-40 so they don't go rust any further, and then they will be placed in this nice clean box. Right, so I'm going to use a T30 bit. I'm going to start on this bearing cap here labelled number 3, and then obviously this one's here number 3, so it must be 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to remove 3, 3, 5, 5, but I'm not removing fully. I'm going to let them come up a little bit and then come up a little bit, come up a little bit, so as I don't crack the camshaft. Right, they are backed off about half a turn. You can see I can move it with my fingers, but the further back I move it, the more I feel the bearing push up. So that's as far as I'm going to take that for now. I'm going to move to this one here and do exactly the same. These ones are a bit more, you have to be a bit more cautious with this side. Obviously this is a double bearing cap with 4 actual bolts in it itself. This one's only got 2, so you have to be a bit more gentler with the actual exhaust side. So again, that's barely loose, that's barely loose. Then we can move on to cap ends 5. I'm taking this apart as if you're looking at the engine in the engine bay, depending on what car you're in, but for the BJX, you're looking at the inlet side, which is obviously the 3 valves in, and then the exhaust side is the 2 valves out. You can do it the other way around, but this is the way the manual says to do it, and this is the way that I'm going to do it. So let's continue with these double bearings. Right, so that's wobbly, and so is that. And now the final exhaust bearing cap for the moment. So that's number 3 bearing caps loose, they're not off yet, and number 5 bearing caps loose. Right, so now the others are loose, I have to remove these camshaft sprockets, or the actual sprocket bearing holders. These 2 are next. I'm going to be doing the same as before, slowly backing them off so nothing goes flying anywhere, and so as the camshaft doesn't get put under stress and so it doesn't snap. Right, so that's all them loosened off, ready to go. I didn't think I had to loosen that one. I think that was for a tension of some kind, but it's out anyway. Yeah, they're loose, they're not tight, they're still maintaining some tension on the camshaft, but now these 2 are loose, these 2 are loose, and these 2 are loose. So the only ones left in are number 2s and number 4s, so they are next. Need to remove these ones over here. Right, so they're loose now as well. All that needs to do now is undo bearing caps 2 and 4 and take off this actual chain tensioning assembly. Right, finally we can remove 2 and 4 diagonally, of course, and try and do them as slowly as possible because these are now the only things holding the camshaft down. Right, so pretty much everything is now loose, save for a couple of bolts here and there. They're finger tight, but I want to try and just gradually pull the camshafts off the actual buckets themselves. Again, this is the first time I've rebuilt a 1.8 turbo. That includes the head, so this is a learning curve for me. There's only so much a manual will teach you. And use a little breaker bar to get the remaining bolts out. Right, so that's all the bearing caps off and more or less ready to go. I believe these bolts are all the same size, so I'm going to get a pot and put them all in. So that's all the bolts out the inlet side. It's now just a matter of pulling the bearing caps off. Now they are numbered and they are directional. If you look on here, number 2, that the camera's focusing properly. There we go. It's got number 2 on it. It's got an arrow of direction, which is, as you're looking at the engine from the inlet side, that arrow should face inwards towards the engine. But yeah, these aren't interchangeable. You can't change these around. So that's them 4 there. Just got this last bearing cap here. I'm going to leave that on for the minute. I'm going to take out all these, so then when I can finally pull them out, I can pull out the chain intact. Again, I'm using a pot for these, but a different one. It makes no difference. It's just that one was a little bit full up. Right, so now we're ready to remove the exhaust caps. Just gently pull. This is the outer end cap. It's got 2 seals here and obviously a journal, which acts as a bearing. It needs oil and it needs lubrication, so that will go in position down here just off camera. I will show you in a minute. So now the last things to do is take off these caps here. So let's get them off. Again, I'm going to put them on the bench as they come off. The last cap to come off is this one, which is just in front of the cam sprocket itself. Now this might hold pressure. There is a special tool you can get to make sure that pressure is gone, but I've basically used a screwdriver, and all I've done is push down the metal plate here a little bit to get the pressure out from underneath the chain itself. So now we should be able to just wiggle free. Let's remove these first. We should just be able to wiggle free the camshafts. So that's the exhaust one free, that's the inlet one free. I'm going to push the head back a little bit on the bench so I can lift it and pull it towards me anyway. And that is the camshaft assembly itself. Now I need to get this chain off. As you can see, that's the entire assembly there. This just needs to be split down. I need to take all that apart to get rid of that. But this is it. This is the exhaust camshaft. This is the valve chain and the actual tensioner itself. Here's all the bearing caps from the inlet side in the direction of travel. And here are all the exhaust ones. This is the end bearing cap which houses the end seals so no oil leaks out of your head. And obviously there's a head in the background. Here's the inlet buckets. As you can see, they are very small and very oily at the moment. Let me wipe my hand. Yeah, these are the inlet buckets. They're very tiny. I was going to say, fortunately I'm not removing them, but I probably am. I want to re-grind the valves and also want to port it from where the valves sit inside. So these will need to be removing as well. But no, for now I'm happy with that. I've got a clean box which I'm gonna clean and store all this in. It's dawned on me that the box is too small for the actual cams, but they're going to be cleaned. I'm going to WD-40 them. These aluminium ones aren't that bad because obviously Ali doesn't rust. I might even put the bearing caps back onto the actual engine themselves at the moment and just slightly tighten the bolts so they don't go missing. They are numbered. They do have a direction of travel, as I said earlier. And if you have a look, for instance, this is bearing cap 4. This is bearing cap 4 and it's got the arrow that faces inwards. This is bearing cap 4 for the exhaust side. It's got 4 and then the arrow that faces inwards as well. So as they're sitting like that in the engine, they point at each other. So it's very difficult to get them mixed up. Obviously it can happen very easily, but if you read what they say and you pay attention, it's going to be very difficult to get them mixed up. That's what I'm saying. Unless you're, like I said, not concentrating. So I'm literally just going to clean them off with a little bit of brake cleaner, nothing too wild. They are actually in really good nick. I really didn't expect them to be this good. There's obviously rusting from me being an idiot, leaving them in a wet garage. But a little bit of Scotch-Brite, that will come off. But yeah, they are in very good nick, from what I can see anyway. So obviously it's 20 valve turbo. There's your 3 inlets there. So 3 there, 3 there, 3 there, 3 there. So then the 1, 2, 3 and 4. So yeah, that's the first camshaft. I've left the seal on for now, and I've left the actual Hall effect sensor on for the minute. That shouldn't need to come off. Well, yeah, it will have to come off actually, because I need to replace this seal. It does look it's okay, but while the hinges apart, everything's going to replace anyway, so might as well. I'll just have to mark which way it comes off and make sure it goes on the exact same way. Anyway. That one should be alright. It's got to clean out with a bit of Scotch-Brite here and there. Place that in the box. This is the exhaust cam. Give that little clean as well. Again, a little bit of rust from me being an idiot. But yeah, you can see they're much bigger lobes. But there's only 2 per cylinder because there's only 2 lobes on the cam. So 1, 2, 3, 4 again. 2, 2, 2, 2. That should be alright. This pulley's going to have to come off because again, I need to change the seal. And then I'm not going to clean the bearing caps. Well, no, I could give them a little. Could give them a little blast. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the main ones that sit in the engine. This is one of the sprocket pulley or caps. They do need a bit of deburring. They are quite rough on the casting. If I get a spare afternoon, I might do that. Then this is the exhaust side. And then finally the end bearing seal cap. The chain does look pretty good. It's a chain in the day. They are very robust. So that's going to go back on. I will be replacing this tensioner, but the chains will be okay. The tensioner might come with a new chain as well. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into the parts for that, but if not, we've got a spare chain that can go in there as well. So that's most of the cam assembly and well, valve train. The rest of it's obviously still on the head. As I said with these bearing caps, it focuses. It's got an arrow pointing in towards the inlet cap, which is here. See the little arrow? So as I've said before, they face each other. Now the other end caps, which hold the sprocket end, which is this end of the camshaft, they have an arrow facing that way. So for instance, this is the inlet side one. That arrow will face the sprocket there. That arrow will face the other exhaust bearing cap. So yeah, that's all off, that's all inspected. Now a quick look at the head. Now this is what's left in the head. You've got the exhaust buckets and obviously valves, and then you've got your intake valves and buckets. That's all that's left in the head. Now they will be coming out in another video, and so will the valves. So we can pull and polish the head and also replace the exhaust valves with Inconel valves. I could probably get away with not doing that, but we'll see. I'm going to see how they come out and what they look like. The power level that we are aiming for, or the power level that I am aiming for, probably doesn't require Inconel exhaust valves, but they're fairly cheap. I think it's about 270 quid or 270 pounds in the UK. I'm not sure how much they would be in the US if there's anyone from the US watching, but 270 pounds over here. So they're not too expensive for what they are, and I think they're rated to about 600 pounds. I think that's what the website said, give or take. Something this engine will probably never see, but it's future proof. Then it's something I don't have to worry about, because the last thing I want to do is rebuild this up, get some nice power going for it, and then 6 months down the line I've burnt out an exhaust valve, or an exhaust valve is on the way out. So then again, engine's got to come out, it's got to be taken apart, etc, etc, and I've got to do it anyway. So I thought I might as well do it now, get it out of the way. But like I said, it depends. We'll have a look, see what condition they're in, and go from there. So we've reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.